Man, let me ask you, let me transition to a hoops question because as we've been talking about this in-state recruiting, and let's just take
Yeah.
the last 8 years as the profile has been extremely elevated on the national level. Not taking anything away from anybody previous. I mean, Ron Kellogg was really good. In the last 8 years, do you feel it's more? Gosh, I almost want to throw baseball into this too because baseball produces such fantastic collegiate talent.
It has for a really
Mhm.
long time here.
But let's just keep it to basketball and football. You feel like it's easier to justify garnering in-state talent in hoops or football, given the success of each sport at the high school level the last 8 years?
Um, First of all, I do think this is a really, really, really nuanced conversation.
That's why I asked you because you're pretty smart.
Yeah, so like I think you guys all made really good points about the what should matter in the pecking order of trying to make yourself the destination, whether it's locally or nationally, and how that how that tracks with being competitive nationally as well. It's funny because just to tie it into Creighton because I have more expertise in how they've been built. Like Jason Green, for example, like did not grow up a Creighton guy, even though Creighton was, um, I guess, what you would consider relevant during his childhood.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
like so like that's what I mean. Like I think we're in an era where it doesn't matter how good you are and then where you are proximity wise. Like you still have to sell yourself on why that's a fit for that particular athlete because they know
As the institution,
how.
you mean?
Yes, for
Okay,
sure.
okay.
And it's because I think as players know now, especially as they have more agency over their careers, fit is really important. You know what I mean? It's not like recruiting has changed. The pie in the sky stuff isn't as effective as like, will I be happy here? Period. You know what I mean? Like it's not about. Um, I don't think the recruiting wars are fought under the same parameters anymore as they used to be. So from a local standpoint, I think whether it's Nebraska football or Creighton basketball, make the main thing is kind of always like that's what the programs I think that are doing it the right way just continue to do because whether it's Mac or Flan or Booth or Ed or Johnny or anybody at Nebraska, whether Rhule, all the points he's making about losing, kids to the Big 12 because they're not necessarily in on them early. Um, Making the main thing is your selling point always first and foremost. So as long as you're doing the right things from a developmental standpoint, from a process standpoint, and then it translates into, the success when the spotlight clicks on, I think you'll always kind of have a footprint in your local habitat
Mm.
to attract good talent, regardless. But that's the first part of it. You can't try to be this haven for local talent and say like, under no circumstances can we let these kids leave if you're not even doing the the main thing right, in my opinion.
So you know what's funny, Matt, is especially with Creighton, that might be the only program in state, Creighton men's basketball, that doesn't, at least to my recollection, that basically gets zero pushback when either they don't offer a guy or he doesn't come here. And it's,
Yeah.
I think, for a couple of reasons. Number one, what you said, the main thing's the main thing. They're winning, and they've been a winning program for a while. And
Mm-hmm.
two, I think their evals are so good and so trusted because they were the only ones in on like a Kyrie Thomas. They were the very first ones in on like a Justin Patton. They believe
Uh, Nebraska was in first. Creighton was just more patient
on Patton.
with the academics.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
But
Nebraska didn't think they could get him eligible.
they've been either the first ones in, the only ones in, more they've endured longer on certain
Yeah.
guys.
They hung
Their
in there.
their track record is so good, not only with the guys they do take, but also just overall as a program. We almost look at them like we did, and I get these are very different levels of excellence, but we almost look at them like we did 90s Huskers, where it's like, hey, if you don't take an in-state guy, there's a reason, right? And you kind of just get the, oh, it's going to be okay because we trust the pedigree and the track record of this particular program
Yeah,
right now.
Happer had an amazing I wanted to chime in, but I didn't. He was talking about somebody compared Creighton's their assessment on grabbing guys as a foregone conclusion, and he compared it to Iowa getting offensive linemen.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison.
And I was like, that would have been my first. That would have been my first get. Like, what is somebody? Iowa gets a guy out of the portal, right? You're like, oh shoot, that guy's going to be a good offensive lineman.
Yeah, whether he's from D2 or never heard of him
because
or whatever
Iowa
else.
gets the. I would say Creighton is the closest thing to that in basketball, where I think they automatically get the benefit of the doubt to the good, or whether they don't offer a guy. Like,
well, I was looking at it from. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was looking at it from the standpoint of just like maybe a couple of weeks ago. It's like, what are their misses? You know what I'm saying? Like, think about what you think of the last. Just go 6-7 years, or to kind of make it an easy exercise or whatever. It's like, what are their misses? Like, think about the guys that even got out of the portal, like especially at the guard and wing spot, like that kind of like where there's multiple responsibilities and there's like it's kind of a tweener position, like Damian Jefferson, massive hit. Denzel Mahoney, massive hit.
So I'll give you a couple that took. Now he took the longest. O'Connell took the longest. Who was my guy from the West Coast? Wing shooter.
West Coast.
You're not talking about Kobe Paris, are you?
Nope.
Yeah, are you talking about out of high school, or
you're talking about high school or transfer?
Transfer. Was he at Cal? Who was?
Ricky Krecklow.
Yes, Krecklow.
But he was good. That team was bad.
He was
He was good. That team sucked though.
Yep.
Yeah, Krecklow is exactly who I'm thinking of.
But yeah, he became he was a 1A on that team, a leader, a playmaker, like a big important piece in a one and done season. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why Ravi, you feel the way you feel, because you can't, like, the failure column isn't filled up right now. Like, it's not a hit or miss proposition. It's more of Creighton thinks this guy's their dude. Okay, like think about the conversation we were having last year at this point. Do you think Jemiah Neal was gonna
no
drop D-Wade numbers against Louisville at Rupp Arena in March?
No, absolutely
you know what
not.
I'm saying?
No. Krabby Pants next to me was still mad about that signing.
I wasn't thrilled about it.
Like, yeah, he wasn't alone. I'm like, I got questions all summer. Like, what's the deal? So I'm like, well, I mean, what lesson are you? I mean, you guys like to learn the hard way with Mac, don't you? Like, if he sees it, like maybe it's there, and let's let it like play out a little bit. So I think that's what Mac has kind of afforded himself now. It used to be, people used to be far more critical of things up front, and now they're kind of like in Mac we trust mode because the track record's there. It's like, you know what I mean? Jemiah Neal was not an exciting splash of a transfer.
Neither was Damon Jefferson.
Exactly. That's my point. Is like, go back in time as far back as your brain can recall.
So why are you picking guards and wings? You guys should be talking more about bigs, like,
because he's done most of his bigs work out of high school.
But like you talk about can't miss.
Yeah, I think just if we're just talking about transfers though, most of the bigs have been out of high school.
Like, that development has been crazy.
Oh, it's unreal. Yeah, it's been ridiculous.
So I get it's a high school football reference, but if Amarion Jackson wants to go to Iowa State and he thinks he's going to be, Jaden Higgins or Jalen Noel or one of these guys, like, I don't have any problems with that until because I think he's really I'm a big AJ guy.
Yeah, you've been.
I'm a big Amarion guy, and so it's like, how many games do you think Nebraska has to win? You don't have to give me a hard number, Maddie, but if we want to trust Coach Rhule's record on the right in-state guys versus not, like, what's the consistency of winning do you think has to happen before we give him the benefit of the doubt? Or is it because it's football, you think it's always going to be tough to offset?
So I think because of the way the sport is shifting a little bit, I think for Rhule to kind of earn what we've just got done talking about with Mac, I think it probably needs to be, at least once a recruiting cycle, especially because they still want to, make high school a priority and develop guys through the program and turn them into like kind of Huskers for life, if you will. I think it
sounds a lot like a school down the street, right?
Right. Yeah. I think as long as you're a playoff team once a recruiting cycle minimum, you're doing it the right way. And then from there, the world's your oyster. Like if you explode and all of a sudden turn into a perennial power, then obviously you've done a lot of things the right way, and the steam will pick up from there. But I think as long as once a recruiting cycle, you're a playoff team, not playoff caliber, a playoff team.
Gotcha.
As long as you're on the stage, I think you'll earn the trust of what you're building, and then the message speaks for itself at that point, whether it's locally or nationally.
A lot of our listeners don't know. Ravi and I reference it a ton because it caught me off guard the first couple of years. You come across as a very big Matt Rhule fan. Why? Number one, because I've never really asked you, but you're very good at bringing up stuff from his press conference, or I like this energy, or I like what this is like. What drew you towards Coach Rhule as kind of a quote unquote non-Nebraska guy?
I mean, I hope he doesn't mind me saying it. But I obviously worked with Niatawa, quite a bit, and we're good friends now and everything. Even since he's left the beat, but because he came from Nebraska, and we would always talk about kind of the differences in covering Creighton versus covering Nebraska, even though we cover high-profile sports at Creighton.
Yeah.
And it's just like he said, the toxicity level is just night and day. You know what I mean? Like you're constantly, you're almost like an on-call doctor with drama coming out of Lincoln, as opposed to like Creighton. You can just kind of wake up and approach your day with more of a plan in mind. And I think so I always looked at Nebraska from afar, like a place I never wanted to kind of cover. I didn't think the coaches were very genuine. I thought it was kind of a little bit Hollywoody, if you will. And then Rhule comes in, and your sit down with him, I thought was very down to earth and genuine. I think there's a lot of components of that. But I've listened to that thing 3 times. I don't even know how long it is. It looks like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
There's just so much good stuff in there that resonates differently with me on different wavelengths, that I'm like, oh man, that's really good. He's so insightful. He's genuine. I think he tells the truth as he sees it, without being, Mr. Sales pitchy guy for Nebraska versus what we're capable of. I think he's very honest, day-to-day honest. And I think that's why when he says things like, this is the team I've been waiting for, I know what Nebraska world is going to do to that quote. I know what they're going to do.
Don't get me started.
I know where they're going to go with that, but I know what he means.
Okay, so what do you think he meant, Maddie? We haven't even really talked about this.
I just think now he feels like he's around like-minded people more like-minded people. Where day to day, he doesn't have to he even said it in the quote. He's like, if you come to my practices, I'm not rah-rah this, cuss out that, screaming at this. It's going to seem pretty chill from the outside eye, because we all know what we're doing. That's what he means by that. I have the dudes around me now who wake up every day and understand the plan. They don't have to it's not necessarily I have to be putting guys on a leash and walking them to this spot and walking them to that spot and things like that. That's what I think he means by that. I know what Nebraska world's going to do to that quote, especially when the games start. And I can see that quote recirculating, after a loss or two for sure. But I did not interpret it as oh yeah, here we go, 11, 12 wins, playoff, here we come. I interpreted it as, I think I finally have the dudes around me who think like I do, operate like I do, and it's a lot of fun to come to work every day.
Now, we even carved through it when he said, I like that. And that was referencing guys wanting the griminess of a practice. Right? That's not much to really interpret about wins and losses there.
The Creighton class that just graduated was Flan. Do you know how many times they've almost gotten into fights in practice? I think it would shock people. It would. I think it really would. They were so competitive. It was like the coaches would laugh at them when they would Flan would just end a drill in a tie, and they would start cussing him out because they don't want the tie. I've never been a part of it. Like, but you know why they were special, because the competitive switch doesn't exist. It's always on. The levers broke. Like, they wake up every day in a killer mindset and want to make the most of every single day, whether it's practice or a game. Like, that's when you're coaching those type of players and that type of team. I mean, DB, you do it. Like, I imagine waking up every day is a lot easier and less stressful and more enjoyable, more fulfilling.
Yeah. It's a good point. I like the practicality of it too.
Matt, I do wonder, like, given at least average talent, is that the attribute you would take over everything else?
100%. I've seen it because I've seen it overcome
a lot
more talent. Yeah. I mean, they made an Elite Eight with a team. They were a 10 seed. They had to go to Carver. They had to beat Caitlin. Then they went and beat the best team in the state of Iowa the next week in Greensboro. Like, they made an Elite Eight off of just, off of a day-to-day desire to be better. And it just one day stacked on another day, and then the moment came and they were ready for it. And then, same with just every team that's made a run that I've covered with Creighton. It's like, they don't care what people think about them. They don't care if they don't get the glory. They're just going to show up and fight you. You know what I mean? Like, that's because they have a competitive switch that's like unmatched. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, even Creighton going out to State College this year. Like, I mean, no one thought they were beating Texas. Like, that's Texas. Like, they're 6'4" across the net. Maddie Skinner has a howitzer of an arm. I mean, she just went into League One and tore the league apart. You know what I mean? Like,
and then their start against Penn State, right? It's like, oh man,
yeah. I mean, but
these guys are legit.
You watch them both warm up. You watch them come off the bus, and you're just like, oh man, like, there's pro athletes, over here. And I mean, Creighton just rips them apart. You know what I mean? Like, that Texas match was not competitive. Like, I mean, Jaya Johnson, redshirt freshman, is frustrating Maddie Skinner. Like, Creighton's doing their thing. Like, the Penn State match is a dogfight. Like, but no one thought Creighton going out there was a pathway to the Final Four. But they pretty much made it one, because the day-to-day switch doesn't have to be,
you don't have to find it.
Yeah, you don't know, like, oh, who are we today? They already know that way before the season starts who they are. They're comfortable in their own skin, and then when the lights are on, they just do their thing. That's the way. Those are the most fun teams to cover, for sure, because you don't have to wonder about what you're watching.
Hey, what do you want the Texans to do in the draft?
Get somebody who can give CJ 2.5 seconds to throw. Or think. I feel like that's a step in the right direction. I mean, like because you put my mind a little bit at peace when you were talking about A gap pressure and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How frustrated I was with it, and you were like, "Well, it's more complicated than you think." You got really into it. I'm just like, block the dude in front of you. I know there's a lot of stuff in your eyes, but like, can you deal with A to B first? That way the quarterback. Like, I don't want him sitting down as soon as he touches the ball. Like, can we figure that out first, and then let the complexities of blitz packages.
So you would take that, and I get why, because it's O-line, but don't you want like a big time receiver?
I honestly, I think CJ can elevate a receiving core if he has time to make decisions.
Okay.
That's the way I feel right now. So no.
So
that's the most Maddie answer ever.
Listen, I'm traumatized from a David Carr era too. Like, I know what happens when you don't give your quarterback time to process things, how bad it can get. So first and foremost, I want protection for the guy that's going to be making decisions. And then if it turns out that, like, receivers aren't getting open as an issue, or guys aren't making plays downfield as an issue, then you can adjust them from there. But I think point one needs to be give CJ time to at least, survey what's happening in front of him without running for his life.
Maddie, we didn't get to we didn't get to Creighton baseball with you here, so we may have to bring you back again.
Call me
soon.
tomorrow. I'll be up.
Hey, we'll just break one off impromptu, right?
Yeah, I'll text you. If I wake up alive tomorrow, I'll text you. I'll get on. We'll talk baseball.
We'll just start cold calling you. Be like, hey, how about them Jays?
Sounds good.
All right, buddy.
We appreciate it as always.
Later, fellas.